Hello. Let's get into it. So if you don't know me, I'm Alexis. I'm a strategist, a professional strategist, and lots of different words that you can use here, but a soul purpose expert, and a spiritual mentor. And I combine those two things so that you can approach this thing that seems totally intangible and otherworldly and beyond our comprehension with actual strategic visioning principles that help you get clear on who you are, get clear on what you're meant to bring into the world, get clear on what makes you happy and what fulfills your soul and brings you joy, so that you don't have to do a ton of guesswork. You don't have to do any guesswork, actually. You have a strategic system that lays it all out so you can live your purpose and feel really meaningful and good today. So that's a little bit about me. And today I want to talk about the number one question that helps build intuition and self-trust. And this is from my personal experience. So I've always been a really intuitive person, and perhaps you are too, meaning that we sort of get things, we hear things, we understand things, and we don't necessarily know why. But when it came to making decisions and knowing my own mind or my own heart, that was a really different territory. And so people would say, well, just follow your heart. Okay, what does that mean? What does that even mean, right? And on some things, it was really obvious. Like when I decided to quit the government, done. No, my own heart there, I'm quitting the government. When I decided to move to New Zealand, done. Like big decisions were not the challenge for me. It was the little daily decisions to stay in alignment, and particularly in relationship to other people, whether that was like a love relationship or a friendship or family relationship. So I really struggled with knowing my own self in those relationships, and in just, 100 decisions a day, hundreds and hundreds of decisions a day. And then some of those medium decisions of, am I going to choose to show up this way or this way? Am I going to blog or am I going to video? Am I going to go for a walk or take a nap? Decisions that shouldn't be difficult, but I really struggled with them. And that then gets expanded to the bigger level of know your heart, follow your dreams, follow what your heart's telling you. That type of phrasing didn't work for me. It just made me really frustrated. So if that sounds like you, or you've heard that, you don't really have a great relationship with yourself, or you said the words, well, I don't really trust myself, or I don't know what I want, this question is going to help you. So years ago when I moved back to the States, and I was staying at my parents' house for a while because I'd been house sitting all over the world. And I said, well, I'm going to come back and house sit for you, so at least I can have visitors, because I take house sitting very seriously. And so I'm sitting there one day alone, completely alone, sitting in this beautiful chair. And I thought, well, what should I do? Should I be working on something? Should I be making food? Should I be going for a walk? Should I be exercising? And I thought, oh my goodness, this should not be that hard. I'm literally alone without any other influence. I can do whatever I want with very little to no consequence. And I couldn't figure out what I wanted, right? What does my heart want? So I just started asking this question, and it's really, really powerful. It's, what is the loving choice? What is the loving choice right now? What is the loving choice? 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 Not what is the right choice? Not what is the choice that's going to get me something? Not what is the most appropriate choice to be the best person and get brownie points? No, what is the loving choice? And I kid you not, when I started asking this question, I got nothing as a response. But the point of the question is not to get an answer and act on it. The point of the question is to build your relationship with your intuition and yourself. It's to build your self-trust. So don't worry if you don't get an answer. We keep asking the question, what is the loving choice? 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 And as you ask that question, from my personal experience, here's what happens. Maybe you're already in a space of trust with yourself and your intuition where you're going to get an answer. You don't have to act on it. You do not have to act on it. That's a different issue. So you might get an answer. You might not get an answer. And what happened for me is it actually unfolded in a few stages, this relationship with my intuition and myself. So I started by just asking, what is the loving choice, and hearing nothing. And then after a couple weeks, I would say, what's the loving choice? And I'd get it felt like this little fly, and it was over here, and I was like, oh, an answer was there. I just couldn't hold on to it and understand it and make space for it to stick around longer. But the answer was there. So it was like this little flyby answer that I couldn't hold on to. But excitingly, I could tell that I was starting to have a response. I was starting to have a relationship with myself, my own intuition, my heart, my desires, my, the deeper aspects of ourselves. And I was starting to actually hear something. I just couldn't make out what it was. And then in the third stage, I would hear the answer. I'd hear the answer. Well, this is the loving choice. Take a bath. The loving choice would be to let yourself off the hook. The loving choice would be to forgive yourself for whatever you didn't do today. The loving choice is to watch something sad on YouTube and cry because you have emotion to release but don't need to tell a story about it, right? So I started to hear an answer. And then the fourth phase, I decided whether or not to act on that. And that's really key. So there's two ways that people get hung up with this particular practice. And the question is, what is the loving choice? People there's probably three ways. They ask the wrong question. People hear me say, what is the loving choice? And what they get is, how can I be most loving to myself right now? What do I need to do to be loving to myself? What's the right choice? That is not the question. The question is, what is the loving choice? What is the loving choice right now? So first, get the question right. Second way people get hung up is they get really upset if there's not an answer. But the point of the question is to build the relationship with your intuition and with yourself, not to act on the answer. This is so huge. I cannot emphasize this enough. Because when we go at a question, wanting an answer, and then being mad at ourselves for not having an answer, or wanting to act on that answer because then it's the right thing and we're going to get the outcome that we want, money, love, affection, blah, blah, blah. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I did the thing that I was supposed to do. We're missing the boat, right? That's asking yourself and forcing yourself to take action to achieve an outcome and then punishing yourself when you didn't get the outcome because you were actually asking the question as a form of self-perfection. I made another video about that. But we're not trying to self-perfect with this question. We're trying to open up a pathway of conversation between you and you. Outside external brain you, heart internal soul you. We're just trying to open up a space of conversation. So this question, what is the loving choice, opens up the space of conversation. So first, ask the right question. Get it right. Be deliberate. What is the loving choice? Second piece is, it's not about the answer. It's not about the answer, and it's not about taking action on the answer. And the third piece is people get really hung up on, well, I don't want to do that thing. I don't want to do the answer. I don't want to do the thing that you don't have to. You don't have to. Hey, long time no see, lady. So you don't have to do the answer, right? That's really key too. Because when we start to build this relationship with our intuition, most of the time, if we don't have a relationship that's very strong, a self-trusting relationship that's very strong, it's because we're judging what we think we need to do as impossible, distasteful, something we don't want to do, something that has negative consequences, whatever it is. So the key is that you don't have to do the answer. You don't have to do what comes up. We're building the relationship of hearing. So you can say, oh, I hear that. Great. I'm going to choose to do something else, but I hear you. I hear you loud and clear, and I see why that's the loving choice. But I'm going to do something else. Because you have free will. You have free will and free power. But when you judge your own intuitive response, when you judge your own deeper truth, then you're just ripping that relationship to shreds even more. And if the goal of the practice is to build that relationship with your inner truth, not rip it down. So we don't want to judge the answer by saying, I just don't want to hear it, right? Which is what most of us are doing without knowing it. So hear the answer, acknowledge the answer, know that you can still choose to do something else. There are plenty of times when I ask, what is the loving choice? And I hear eat broccoli and I'm like, maybe not, right? You don't have to do the thing. You're an adult. You can do whatever you want. But acknowledge that deeper truth coming from your soul, because that is so precious. And we want to be in alignment, internal alignment between our deeper truth and our acknowledgement and mental recognition of the deeper truth. Alignment with action comes later. The first alignment is internal. I hear you. I get you. I got it. Thank you. Choose to do it or not, that's where we learn, right? That's where we learn. But build the relationship with yourself by creating the opportunity to have the conversation between you and you, and then really honoring that conversation. Honor that conversation by acknowledging that you heard a response, and then by choosing as an adult to do whatever you'd like to do. Alignment with action comes second. Alignment with self comes first. So I hope you got those pieces, because I've seen a lot of people over the years really bungle up this practice, and it's super simple. It's super simple, and you don't have to overcomplicate it, but those are the ways I see people kind of mess it up. The only thing you have to do is say, what is the loving choice? 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 And we mean in this moment. Not what is the loving choice in a week. Not what is the loving choice that's going to get me to my dream outcome in a year. What is the loving choice right now, in this moment? And the answer, they're always going to be small, because it's about action. It's about a receptivity in this moment. So it's going to be something like, take a nap, go for a walk, just write the email, get back to work. Do the thing that you've been putting off. Sometimes you'll be laying on the couch, and I had a client who did this. She'd just gone through a loss of a family member, so deeply grieving, needed a lot of rest, was sitting on the couch one weekend feeling very depressed, piles of to-do list chores going on, and just really struggling. Like, I don't want to do anything, but I don't want to not do anything, but I'm mad at myself for not doing anything, but I don't want to do anything. That space of deep sort of sadness and grieving and laziness, but frustration. And you probably get it. We've all been there at some point. And she asked herself this question, what is the loving choice? And she heard that the answer was, do the things on your to-do list, clean the house, get the laundry going, start making your meals for the rest of the week. And she did it, and her spirits soared. The loving choice in that moment was not, redo your entire life because you're a failure, so you have to constantly have a daily routine that looks like this and blah, 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 right? It was a response to that moment. It was, right now, go put in a load of laundry. And sometimes she's also asked herself the question, in the same circumstances, what's the loving choice? And heard back, give myself permission to 100% be on the couch without guilt and binge watch Netflix. So we're not judging the answer. We're creating space for the answer and the relationship between yourself and your deeper self and your truth, right? We're not judging the answer. Sometimes it's giving yourself permission to not do. And sometimes it's going to be get back to work. And sometimes it's going to be something totally other. So get the question right. What is the loving choice? And we're talking about in this moment, not the loving choice 5 years from now, not the loving choice tomorrow, not the loving choice that's going to win me a Nobel Peace Prize, the loving choice in this moment. What is the loving choice? Don't worry if you don't hear an answer right away. We just keep asking the question, because we're creating space to hear an answer. And that's really key, right? It's like if you wanted to train a wild cat to come in, you would put the food out every day, whether the cat came or not, right? It's that kind of thing. We're just asking the question all the time, whether or not we hear the answer. And I promise you're going to hear an answer. I don't know when, but you're going to hear one. And if you're like me, you're going to hear this and go, wait, there was an answer. I just couldn't understand it, right? And that went on for a little bit of time, because I didn't trust. I was scared of the answers, because I was judging them and judging myself. I was scared of the answers. And so that's the third piece. Don't judge what you hear, because you don't have to take the action. That's not what this is about. It's about building the relationship. It's about building the relationship. The alignment with knowing and action comes secondary to the alignment with knowing. And that's the part we're working on with this question of what is the loving choice. It's the inner alignment of knowing your own heart, of knowing your own truth. And this has massive, massive payoff. Massive payoff, right? Because then all those things that say, well, just be you, just follow your heart, just do what you want, blah, blah, blah. All of that is now possible for you, because you actually know how to have that conversation with yourself. You know how to tune into what's right or wrong for you, right? And I don't mean right or wrong in a judgment sense. I mean right in the moment as the right next step for you to an unfolding. It may end up being something painful. That doesn't mean it's wrong, right? So the payoff to asking this question and building this relationship with yourself is huge. It's huge. It's a payoff of having an aligned life, because the life that's out here happens after the alignment here. It's a payoff of feeling like you can rely on yourself. It's a payoff of knowing what's right for you, of knowing when to draw boundaries and where to draw boundaries. It's a payoff of being able to like stand tall in yourself and confident in yourself without being aggressive, because you just know what's true for you. And that's not a pushing against this, which a lot of us go to when we don't know our own truth. We get aggressive and push things away and push people away because we can't find ourselves. So we're like, I just don't like you, and I don't like this, and I hate that job, and I can't do this, and I don't like this, and I don't like, so we're defining by the negative. What this practice allows you to do is define by the truth. So we can drop all that sort of pushing and aggression. Huge payoff right there. Huge payoff right there. That'll change your life. And more than that, you know yourself. So powerful practice. Powerful practice. Super simple. What is the loving choice? And for me, right now, that's to go eat lunch so that I can get to a meditation retreat. Mwah.